Hello, happy Monday, happy whatever day if you're watching this on the replay. Kim and I wanted to record this workshop tonight about meal planning. I had sort of titled it How to Plan a Month's Worth of Macro-Friendly Meals in 30 Minutes or Less. But really, we're going to just talk kind of all things meal planning, get a little bit into meal prep. But the thing is that I think this is so important, this workshop and working through this, is all of my clients, I can say without exception, the ones who make time to plan and prepare their food in whatever works for them. It does, and we're going to talk about that tonight. It really has to work for you, but sometimes you have to try on different techniques to figure out what works for you. They are the clients that succeed in hitting their goals. And then I have other clients who week after week say, I didn't hit my goals. I didn't do this. And I know it's because I didn't make time to plan and prep. So it's just like really important for setting yourself up for success. Hi, Carrie. We're just getting started. So I sort of just gave an intro. Kim, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I 100% agree. Anytime I have a client that's like feeling like they're falling off track, I'm like, what's the next step you need to do? They're like, I need to plan my food. I need to go to the grocery store. Yeah. And it's usually that's the one small area that they just need to make like adjust back to and create that habit over time and figure out what that day of the week is going to be for you, what your personality type is going to be as far as meal prep, what's going to, what your dinners look like, whether you cook for the family, whether you kind of make adjustments, whether you guys eat separate things. Everyone's different, and just figuring out what's going to work specifically for you and what like lunches, breakfast is pretty similar, but lunches, especially if you're at the office, and then dinners and planning those ahead of time.
Yep, exactly. And, I've said, and Kim has said what works best for you, but we were just saying earlier before we hit record, we should have just hit record at the beginning because we were having a great conversation about meal planning and meal prep and stuff. And if you've never done it before, it's hard to know what works for you. And so we're just going to talk about what works well for us and what we do as sort of two, I wouldn't say best practices, but two just sort of different ways that we plan and prep our meals. And then you can feel free to try that. Or, take some variation of it. But it really does take a little bit kind of trial and error. I used to, when I was working full-time in a job, practicing law, I would make like a mason jar salad assembly line every Sunday. I was also single, so I didn't have to plan. I didn't have to like negotiate meals with anyone. I didn't have to worry about what the family was eating for dinner. So that was sort of my biggest concern. And it took a lot of time, and I don't do that anymore. But at the time, that was what worked for me. I'd make these beautiful mason jar salads. They lasted all week. I'd change the recipe once a week. So one week I'd have Greek salads. The next week I'd have like Cobb salads or whatever. And it worked really well. But, my life is different now. I work from home and I have another adult and sometimes a 5-year-old to negotiate meal planning with. So I'm going to talk about what I do now. And then Kim's going to talk about sort of like her journey with different meal prepping and what she does now too. And you changed too, Kim, right? Because since you were working.
Yeah, I definitely was. I used to make more meals and now I do more batch cooking. And that worked for me. And I considered myself like queen of basic. Like I could eat the same thing every single day for those like Monday through Friday. And that was completely fine. I could switch out like the veggies or the carbohydrates and the proteins, things like that. But that was totally fine for me. Like I didn't need to go extravagant, and I was good with that. So that's kind of like the adjustment I made in more batch cooking now, which I can talk about in a few.
Yeah, awesome. And Carrie, I know you just switched your camera off, but do you do any sort of meal prepping? I know you did my workshop before. Oh, you have a friend on.
Yes. She's mad that everybody's outside and they're trying to water and say hi, Lucy.
Oh.
So she's mad. So she sitting on my desk. So
Just to be clear, this is your 16-pound resistance to your walk,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
it is.
Oh.
Yes.
Hi. Sweet.
And somebody just came in, so I'm waiting for it to go flying across my desk too.
Okay.
Sue just came in. I do some meal planning. I'm not consistent with it at all. And
Mhm.
I'm better with dinner time just because, again, like you said, I'm planning for other people too.
Mhm.
And I go on streaks. Sometimes I'm really good at it and I can do a month at a time. And then there's other times I'm struggling from day to day.
Yep.
So, and when COVID hit a year, half ago or whatever, we were actually out of town and we came home and I'm like, okay, I got to figure out what I have. And with what I had in my freezer and pantry and that type of stuff, I came up with meals for the next month besides just fresh stuff.
Mhm.
So I have a lot of stuff and it's just, if I do it, it's so much
Yeah.
better.
I think it's really, and I'm the same, like, just because we're coaches, I'm not speaking for Kim, but I am exactly the same, where sometimes I have it planned out and I'm like ninja on it with the grocery list and ordering the food and not wasting produce. And then other weeks it's like every day I'm like, oh, I didn't get planned the meals yet. And those weeks are just terrible because every day you feel like you're kind of playing catch up. In fact, I think my husband's at the store right now getting like 3 ingredients so we can have dinner tonight because I was gone for the weekend and we didn't do it when I got back last night.
Hello.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't know if people on the recording are going to be able to see that, but
Sorry.
dog is so cute. So,
That was an accident right there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
did you save the flowers out of a vase or something?
Yeah.
No, my son just handed them to me.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's what I thought
Yeah.
happened. The dog jumped and
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Some
so
petals everywhere.
I'll go through sort of what I do for meal planning, and we can brainstorm a little bit together in case you guys want to do it or there's people that are watching the replay. But what I do and I found works really well for us as a family is I do my own breakfast, lunch, snack every day. And I'll talk about those later. Dinner is the hard one because that's where you have to negotiate with my husband, Fred, and when we have Freddie, who we have part-time, also, making sure it's kid-friendly. He's a pretty good eater, but he's still a 5-year-old. So the way I do it is I give every night of the week a different theme. And they kind of change seasonally. Like in the winter, we definitely had like crock pot night and then like a Sunday supper night. And now that it's Sunday, we actually were talking, or now that it's summer, we're talking about just doing it again. So the way I would start is just either print out a calendar or just, draw one on a sheet of paper and give every night a theme. And then every week you only have to think of like a variation on that theme. And this sort of started because we always do Taco Tuesday. Always. It's like a huge thing in our house. Fred and Freddie were doing it like long time before I even knew Fred. And but we mix it up. So like it's always Taco Tuesday, but sometimes it's fish tacos, sometimes it's tostadas, sometimes it's fajitas, sometimes it's like barbacoa or shredded chicken in the slow cooker. And so if I was planning a whole month's worth, I would just put like Tuesday is tacos or / Mexican, and then like 4 or 5 different variations. And I know how to make all those work with my macros. Like really, and hopefully everyone will be learning through this program. You can make almost anything work with your macros. Because another night that we always have in our house is pizza and a movie on Fridays. So my dinner for pizza and a movie looks very different from Fred's and Freddie's. Usually I have a big salad with chicken breast that I add to it and like 1 or 2 slices of pizza. They'll have pizza, just by itself. So some other themes. So other nights could be like, any kind of ethnic Italian, Asian, like a Sunday supper, with more traditional meatloaf or roast chicken, that kind of stuff. since it's summertime, you know, could have a grilling out night. I know other clients have had like a kids choice night. I think kids choice is like a little bit challenging to hit your macros, but like I just said, you can, you know, if they want to do breakfast or dinner, which is another great theme for dinners, you know, you just have a little more egg whites and they might have 2 eggs scrambled or something. I'm trying to think of what other good categories we've
I think
had.
you did. I don't think you said it, but like crock pot. I think you said you did that sometimes too,
Crock
right?
pot, yeah, in the winter,
Crock
and it's
pot
like,
theme.
yeah, and so if it's crock pot, it's like sometimes they'll do beef stew, sometimes they'll do pot roast, sometimes they'll do chili. For a while, during football season, we were just doing chili on Sundays, but like different variations, like different recipes. So yeah, crock pot, Sunday supper, pizza and a movie, maybe a leftover night. We used to have that when I was growing up, and my mom would make a big deal out of it, like it was a very special night. It was a smorgasbord or something.
Yeah.
Maybe a takeout night. For a while, we were doing Thursday date night during COVID, where we would go to the gym with our masks on and then get takeout. And so it was like a takeout night, and that's one too. Like if it's, and like, you know, like you said, Kim, it's really about figuring out what works for you. You know, if you're eating out 3 nights a week or you're eating takeout, that's okay. You can make it work with that. But, you know, it's good to just know. And then the other nights that you're planning too. Seafood could be another one. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, they're kind of endless, but those are the ones that come to me that I've done. And that's way more than 7, right? So Taco Tuesday, you could do like a meatless Monday. If you could get like, I think it could be like all on that theme, Italian, Asian, takeout, kids' choice, leftovers, salad night. We do that a lot. Is like one night of the week is just like salads, and we make different kinds of salads. So then I would lay them out across the little calendar that I've either printed out or just writing on a piece of paper, and then go down across the days, and then you can think of variations. So what I usually do is do the variations 1 week at a time. So I'll look at, okay, what did we have last week? Are we going to get sick of that if we have it again? I wouldn't. I could eat like the same thing over and over, but Fred's a little more like, let's mix it up. And, you know, it's just an important part. Some of my clients are like, oh, I could never eat the same breakfast every day. It's okay. Then, you know, in that case, maybe have 3 or 4 options that you pick from. It's a lot easier, I think, grocery shopping wise, the more you kind of eat the same thing, but it's also kind of boring. So that's what I do, is write them across, you know, each theme, and then write out 1 week, order your groceries. The next week, maybe on Thursday or Friday, sort of in the earlier part of the weekend, like evaluate how did everything go? How do you want to mix it up for the next week? Plan your groceries, order them, and then just rinse and repeat. So that's what I do for meals. I think it works great, and it makes it really easy, and it really avoids the like 5 o'clock standing in front of the refrigerator, having no idea what to have for dinner.
Yeah. Anytime you can plan anything, you're taking a decision out of the mix. And that usually is like a poor decision at like 5, 6 o'clock at night when you're starving to death. So I am all about that. You plan ahead so you can actually like move forward and getting it done.
Yeah, totally. And especially when it's like your best self making the decision, not your like angry self.
Right. And even doing it before the grocery store, because one of the worst things you can do is be like at the grocery store trying to figure out what you're going to do for meals. You end up grabbing way too much stuff. And that's usually when I'm like, I have all the extra veggies that are going bad and like all these things that I don't end up cooking, and then, you know, buying stuff I don't need.
Same. And that's one reason I really have been super happy with the switch to online and delivery. I was a late adapter, and I was having all my clients do it, but I used to really enjoy grocery shopping until COVID, where you would just stand in line outside Trader Joe's to get in. But I'm so much less wasteful, because as I'm ordering stuff, I can check, oh, do we already have eggs? Do we already have cheese? Because I get the same things. You know, my old groceries are 80, 90% the same every week. and if I don't know, I'll just get another one of the thing, and the refrigerator will be like overflowing.
Yeah,
So,
100%. Like I
yeah.
have a million yogurts, like it'll be like,
Yeah.
like a million yogurts. I'm like, oh, the kids haven't eaten any yogurt this week. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So what do you do for dinners?
So I have a 5 and 7-year-old. So
Okay.
I'll be completely honest, is sometimes we're eating different types of meals. Like me and my husband might be eating something. On my best weeks, I would say usually go grocery shopping on Thursdays. I'll try to plan something ahead. We keep it really simple. So lots of stuff that we can kind of like put together, whether it be like tacos, fajitas, quesadillas, breakfast for dinners, stuff that we can make with under like 15 minutes. And then we do some sort of protein prep throughout the week. So that's usually something that we'll like pull from, like whether we have chicken or ground beef, shrimp. We're doing shrimp, like a shrimp a ton. And then like on the weekends seem to be more like together meals. Like we'll make, the kids really like salmon, which is awesome. So we'll make salmon and like have veggies and potatoes, things like that. But we're pretty much always have some sort of like pizza night, where I'm lactose intolerant, so I have to kind of avoid it. So I'll make my own pita pizza usually. We usually do a lot of, like, me and my husband might do salads. The kids sometimes, like I said, we're sometimes doing separate meals where we're having like, the kids are doing like a yogurt parfait, and we have soccer and stuff too. So sometimes we're on like different shifts eating. But I always try to at least like make a few different ideas, whether it's like meatball subs, like I said, yogurt parfaits, fajitas, burrito bowls. I love like anything bowl related, because then you can just like throw anything you want in it.
And those are really nice for like macro purposes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because then you can pick what you want. I'd say I wish my kids loved potatoes more, because then I would do a lot of like baked potatoes with all, like, I've seen all these like great creative meals to do that. And like wraps, sandwiches, like a lot of lunch style stuff for dinner, just to keep it simple. Because my husband will be working until about 5, and then we usually eat at like around 5:30, and we're just like rushing to do that. So we don't have a ton of time. Sometimes we'll use a crock pot more in the winter. And then we haven't been breaking out the grill much. We usually use the grill a lot too, and just grill stuff and kind of whip stuff up on the side. I am not as good as meal planning, but I still do a lot of meal prep, if that makes sense. So not a ton of meal planning, because I'm like on the fly, but I do a lot of meal prep during the weekends to prepare me for like really quick, simple meals. And that's what I always like to say is like, have your simple staples, those meals that you can rotate between, like, you have a little bit of protein, or like, because you really go into the grocery store, 80% of the time you're getting this like the same stuff. That's 80% of your stuff, like the same exact, like coffee creamers, like the snacks that you like, the protein that you like. And I always try to switch up the protein as well throughout like the weeks to make different stuff. Like you said, if you have tacos, and switch it up to like ground beef, or turkey tacos, shrimp, stuff like that too. That's kind of like the way that we go. But I think it's going to evolve too as the kids get older. We're not like, we'll still make them eat. They still have to have their veggies. Like they're going to have veggies or at least fruit every single night. Kind of like make sure they do that, have some sort of protein as well. And then it's kind of a little bit more flexible with their sides. Like sometimes it's applesauce rather than potatoes or something like that, where we're switching things that are like more friendly to them, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah. So what does your like prepping look like? Because that's something I'm getting back into now, but I don't really do that so much. Like I said, I used to when I was practicing law. I would have like after Sunday, I would have a refrigerator full of mason jars and everything ready to go. But yeah, what does your prepping and batch cooking look like?
Yeah, and because I'm at home, it's a lot different, because I used to do the veggies as well, but I usually do those on the fly now. Although my husband usually does like a stir fry, like stir fried veggies, and he'll buy the pre-cut up stuff, because we do a lot of stuff that saves time for us. So that's like pre-made salads, pre-cut up veggies, things that are just really quick and easy to do. He'll sometimes get like I even get like pre-marinated meat sometimes, just because it's a lot easier.
Where do you get the, like Costco? They have a lot of.
We don't have a Costco. We used to, and then we never used it. And it was one of those things you're like paying out for something. So we literally go to the grocery store like way too much. We have near us, we have a Shaw's, we have Hannaford, we have Market Basket, which are like a little bit cheaper. And those are probably the 3 places that we go to. What meal prep as far as like now looks for, for me, like I'll try to go through the flyers in the grocery store and see what's on sale, because I'll make sure I'm going to grab stuff that's on sale. Like if I like ground turkey a lot. So if it like this week it's on sale, so I'll make sure to buy that. Like we have a big chest freezer, so I'll always throw extras there. Especially when I'm going to the grocery store too. Like I'll just go through the like what we already have to kind of decide on what we're doing for the meal prep. But I always recommend like the 2x2x2, which is like 2 proteins, 2 carbs, and 2 veggies, and that's pretty much what mine looks like. Although I'm doing it more like as I go now that I'm home, so I'll just throw like potatoes in the air fryer when I'm ready for them for lunch and stuff. But I'll pretty much always pre-cook protein without a doubt. Like
protein is
without
the
a doubt,
one thing that you can't do fast, and then except for like eggs, and they still take cooking. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's another nice thing I was gonna say about grilling. Like now, whenever you know, Fred's on the grill, we'll do probably like 3 times as much as we're gonna eat, and you just know that that's specifically for leftovers, and that's really nice. We had a lot of really good stuff recently that was also really healthy, because I think people were kind of afraid, like, oh, it's like summer grilling season. But we made like steak kebabs and veggie kebabs, and then a different night we made like chicken thighs, and they were really good. Really good.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be just burgers, and really easy too. And I like what you said about the pre-cut stuff. So it kind of like, you know, all the women in this group are really busy. You know, most of them are like running businesses or like really demanding careers, kids, you know, doing stuff in the community. You can let someone else do the meal prep for you. Get the salad in the bag, get the marinated meat, get the pre-cut veggies. I was asking about Costco because we don't have a membership, but I think I'm gonna get us one. I was at like girlfriend getaway, a girlfriend's birthday, and everything she had was from Costco, and they had little like egg muffin things that were delicious, and like chicken skewers that were delicious, and like a bunch of other stuff that if I was meal prepping, like I could not have done better than that Costco stuff.
Oh yeah, and it's like a lot of healthy stuff they have there too. That is just like buy in bulk. I've seen so many like even pre-cooked like chickens, things like that I've seen like people doing like Costco hauls. And honestly, same thing with Trader Joe's, because they have a lot of good frozen meals, and we'll grab stuff like that. Like there's chicken stir fried or chicken fried rice, and like other things that taste good. It doesn't taste like it's frozen. It actually tastes like good. And the quality of the ingredients is a lot better than some of the stuff that you might have like in a TV type dinner or something like that too.
And also, speaking of frozen, that is actually another good option, like frozen veggies. I always get like a couple bags of like stir fry frozen veggies. And same thing, like frozen fruit that I throw in smoothies, because that way it doesn't go bad, because I'm terrible at wasting produce. I'll get it, I'll like have these huge aspirations that I'm gonna have salad, you know, a ton, and then it'll go bad. But with frozen fruits and frozen veggies, they're all cut up already. They're basically ready to go, and they're usually picked and frozen at the peak of their freshness versus actual fresh produce, which is picked early and it's supposed to like ripen in the truck. So, you know, that's something I've had clients say to me a lot last year. They were like shocked, like, oh, we can just use frozen food, or we can just use salad in a bag. And it's like, yes, it did not have to be like Martha Stewart riding your bike to the local farmer's market to get healthy food that's going to hit your macros. Like there's a lot of ways to make it faster and easier. I mean, you know, generally you're going to pay probably a little bit more for the prepped food, but it's probably worth it, you know?
Yeah, when you have limited time, the convenience factor is without a doubt worth it to pay like a little extra more for that. And you can find, depending on the grocery store you go to, you can always find like some deals and stuff like that. Or no, you know, buy the stuff that's in season, you know, when it comes to like pre-cut up stuff. Like we even buy the pre-cut up fruit of like strawberries and stuff. Sometimes it's like in a mixed thing. Because it's easier.
It's easier. And that might be the difference, honestly, between it going bad in the refrigerator or it getting
exactly. Because I bought blueberries out, like even at I know this is crazy, but like we have like blueberries in the pints, or like strawberries in the pints, or we get it like pre-cut up, and it's like especially with like strawberries, it's like, okay, I got to go actually cut them up. And then I'm like, all right, that's not going to happen, you know, and you just don't do it.
Yeah. So it's really just about like knowing what you need and kind of that spectrum between like convenience and homemade. And wherever you fall is it's okay. And there's way
Yeah.
to find food that is nutritious, nourishing, good, and gonna fit your macros.
Yeah.
Um, what about let's talk. So that was kind of like dinner stuff and on the go. What do you do for like breakfast, lunch, snacks? Do you plan
I
that at
pretty
all?
much,
Prep it?
yeah, I make it as I go now. I never used to do that, but it's so quick that I can whip it up. So like I always just have protein, which right now I've been like just doing egg whites, and then I'll like saute veggies before while I'm like I'll saute veggies inside of it, whether it's a scramble or an omelet or something like that. And then it's a carbohydrate. So I'll grab a bagel or like half a bagel and or toast, or if I have like hash browns, sometimes I'll throw that into like the air fryer, things like that. And then it's pretty simple. Sometimes I'll do the like overnight oats or something like that, but I've been just kind of doing this, and I'm the type of person that could literally have the same thing. This is the way my parents were, and you know, my husband's the complete opposite. But I could have like the same thing for breakfast pretty much like all the time and
Yeah.
not be sick of it, as long as there's like a little tweak to it.
Yep.
You know.
I do the same thing. I sort of change it seasonally. So right now I'm back on having a protein shake in the morning, and I use my like isogenic shakes. I used to also be, in addition to like spending all Sunday meal prepping, every time I made a protein shake or smoothie, I would be like protein powder, spinach, banana, peanut butter, flaxseed, chia seeds, almond,
Yeah.
you know, take up the whole kitchen just to make a protein shake. And so now I'm like 2 scoops of like the isogenics. I put a little hydrate. So I do like either in the summer, like lemon lime or orange, or I will add fresh berries. So it's like very fruity and refreshing and takes like 5 minutes max. So that's my breakfast. And then my lunch, I always do like a variation on a theme, but it's pretty much the same. But it's like usually egg whites plus an egg plus chicken sausage or turkey sausage. Um, some sort of carbs. So either I'll make them into breakfast tacos, or I'll have that with avocado toast, or you know, something like that. But it's always like the eggs, the chicken sausage. If I have spinach or some peppers, I'll throw that in. Usually spinach because it's easier to just throw it in. You don't have to cut it.
Yeah.
And this morning I actually like have been getting busier, so I took the time to make like 4, instead of just making one breakfast burrito for this morning, I made 4. And it took, you know, it took maybe twice as long to make 4 as it took to take one.
Yeah.
And there's only one pan to wash. And now for the rest of the week, I have those made and I can just pop them in the microwave. And it's also a little bit, you know, it doesn't take that long to make it, but it takes long enough that it can kind of set you back, plus dishes, plus getting all the ingredients out. So that's what I'm going to kind of shift to doing more, is just sort of making a bunch of breakfast burritos. If I feel like doing something else and I have time, then I'll probably do my standard like egg scramble thing with avocado toast. But if I don't, then I'll have those. I can just grab them. And I usually keep them in the freezer, but then I'll keep one in the refrigerator kind of thawing out. So it's kind of like always one ready to go.
Yeah. Do you put those in where do you heat them up in?
So I put them in the microwave, but then
Yeah.
I put them in
Air fryer?
the panini. So,
Oh, gotcha.
so it's like crispy. So it's like
Yeah.
warm on the inside, but then crispy. But it's just like, if it's refrigerated, you could do like a minute in the microwave and then put it in the George Foreman just to get it a little crispy. And
Yeah.
they're so good. That was another thing I used to meal prep when I was practicing law. I would make all of those for the week. So I would bring a whole bag with all my food.
That's like I literally would come in and I would just store I would like take up half of the fridge and be like, this is my
Yeah.
area. And I would prep all that stuff. And it did take time, but it was just so convenient. I would, you know, it'd be easy.
It was so worth it during the week when I was going there. And yeah, and you know, and I have clients now who are like, you know, they've started doing more prepping and planning during COVID. And now that they're going back to work, they're like, what am I supposed to like bring my whole food bag? And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
girl, no
I
shame
know.
in your game. Like this is
Oh yeah,
important.
exactly. I used to do the same thing. I'd even leave like frozen stuff in there just in case I ever like forgot anything, and they'd be like, grab it. Yeah.
Yeah. And nobody's gonna care. You know, you might get some comments, but mostly it was my coworkers. They're like, oh, are you gonna make me drink that green smoothie? I was like, no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm not. So that's what I do for breakfast and lunch. And then for snack right now, I'm doing like yogurt and with a extra scoop, so Greek yogurt with a scoop of protein powder and then a little bit of granola or frozen fruit in it. So I don't prep that because it takes like less than 5 minutes to throw
Yeah.
together. But again, if I was going to an office, I would probably do something similar, but what I would do instead is get like an individual size Greek yogurt and keep a canister of protein powder there and probably just skip the other stuff.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So you just bring like the yogurt every day and then you could throw that in.
Yeah, I started to do that too because I had like overnight oats and I'd actually leave it at work. I'd bring the stuff in there and before I would like leave or like after I ate it that morning, wash up my thing and then just leave it in there into the fridge at work and then I would have it the next morning. I would leave all these things. People would just like, what do you I feel like every condiment in the world at like at the office, but that was something I did for a long time. I would even create sometimes like separate yogurt things where I'd have yogurt and fruit and bring that all in too when I always go through some sort of like rotation where I'm like stuck on something. I did for a long time for snacks, like meatloaf muffins, which were really great protein snacks, which was like a ground turkey muffin. It had like celery in it and then like a bunch of other flavors, egg whites. I think it was Jamie Eason's like recipe a long time ago. And that was another great option to just have that.
Yeah, that
Or
sounds really good.
yeah, I
Or
think
you could do the same with sort of like those little egg
bites.
muffin
Yeah.
things, or go to Costco and get them pre-made.
Yeah. Those are
But
really good snacks
Mhm.
too, because it would just be like the perfect thing. That or like some sort of veggies on the side too. And I would bring it all in. And it would take a lot of time on Sundays. But at the same time, like I didn't have to think about it during the week and I wouldn't have to stress about it. And it would just be so much easier than doing it every single night before. I'd rather spend like a couple hours on the Sunday and I would like listen to music, something like that. And then during like the week I didn't have to stress about it or doing it the night before because like when I get home from work I'm like I don't want to be prepping food for the next day.
No, me neither. And I think that's where it really sets you up for success is that automation. And I
Mhm.
talk about that a lot. Is just like automating the good decisions that you want to be making so that you don't have to use like willpower or even brain power to be like, okay, what should I have for lunch today? I should have this healthy, nourishing thing that's going to hit my macros. Everyone else is like, going out to the Irish pub next door or something,
Yeah.
which was my coworker's favorite place. It's like an Irish pub. Um, so then it's just like on autopilot, just like brushing your teeth and putting your seatbelt on. Like you don't even have to think about it. You have it. All you have to do is like rinse out. I used to all my dishes were Tupperware.
Yeah.
Tupperware and mason jars, which is not the worst problem in the world. And it was just super convenient.
Yeah. I mean, this just remind me too, like 10 years ago, I mean, when my husband actually, we worked or even over this now, but we worked together and we literally would go out for every meal for lunch at, our lunch break. And at that time, like I put on a lot of weight during that time because it was just, you going out to eat, you're eating a lot more calorically dense foods. They're usually not the healthiest. You're usually not getting any vegetables. It was like, steak bombs and all the fun stuff. But then you don't feel good either. You're just like, oh, like just feel like you come back from that lunch and you're ready to sleep. You're not ready to work.
It's really hard, that sort of like car bomb after like that. And then, you hit that 3 o'clock slump. And then again, you don't have really any snacks available except what might be in the office because so you go for coffee, right? Or you go for like, oh, someone brought in donuts and all of a sudden this at 3 o'clock, this like stale donut looks so good because your body's craving carbs. I found that if I have either like an afternoon protein shake or the yogurt and fruit with protein powder or some other sort of like high protein snack around 3 o'clock ish, I am good to go. I don't even need a second cup of coffee. The other thing that's similar to that is when I was working when I was in New York, I had a job where I could go work out at lunch every day. There was a gym in the building. My schedule was not as crazy as it was when I was actually practicing law. And I did it probably 90% of the time. And the days when I didn't work out at lunch, I was dragging by 3 o'clock. I would need like 2 more cups of coffee just to make it through the afternoon. So this doesn't really have to do with meal prep, but it does have to do with just like setting yourself up for success. And if you could like go for a walk or get in a quick workout at lunchtime but preferably have that like high protein afternoon snack and sort of and a good high protein lunch, it will really keep your energy up throughout the day. And it also really helps with just like your thinking and mental clarity as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I did the same thing too. I used to have a gym at work and then I would work out then and I would feel really good. Or it got to a point when I was really busy during the day where I would go in a little bit early, work out, and then go on a walk to break up the day. Because one of the worst things you can do is just like not take that time. We end up eating in front of the computer, you're still working, or bringing my food into like lunch meetings. Well, because of course people schedule during your lunchtime, and then you're not taking that break and you're not even focusing in on what you're eating, and you're like, what just happened? Just feeling exhausted and stuff.
I have one client who blocks out like 8 to 9 o'clock on her calendar and also noon to 1, so that people can't just go and just schedule things for her. If I would really recommend that if anyone has that availability. I know like when I was in the law firm, people's assistants would just look, oh, your calendar's open, I just scheduled this, and so if you in your head are like, no, that was my time to take my 15-minute walk, well, they don't know. and it's not really their job to like protect your health and your boundaries and stuff. So if you can, just sort of little like, I don't know, fail safes or like safety nets like that, where you're literally putting on your calendar, and you don't have to say what it is. You don't have to say I'm going to work out if that's gonna be, whatever. You could just block it off, or you could say like personal appointment or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I used to do that all the time. You have to set boundaries. I would do GSD, get shit done.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
You definitely need to do that. But yeah, I mean, you need to know your style, right? Because I think a lot of people are too busy, or they need that variety. Like my husband he would batch cook, but he'd bring it all into work. And then depending on the day, like he would have, I don't know, a bunch of veggies, he'd have different proteins. And then however he felt during that day is what he was going to have. He just knew that he had that stuff already pre-made, and he would grab it there. And that would just make it easier too.
That's cool. Yeah. It's just so much about figuring out what works for you. And the difficult part is it takes time to do that. And it takes sort of a little bit of trial and error. So, Carrie or anyone who's watching on the replay, you could try the way I do it. You could try the way Kim does it. I would recommend doing both, and then kind of seeing like, okay, what was good about that? What didn't work so well for me or for my family? And then just kind of go from there and keep fine tuning what works for you. But the most important thing is set aside the time to do it and make it a priority, because it really will set you up for success. And I do it over a couple days because it's draining sometimes, and sometimes you don't feel like doing it. So for me, the best option is one day of planning and checking what you already have, one day of grocery shopping or ordering the groceries, and then one day of prepping, whatever that looks like for you. Yeah, I find that works really well for me.
Yeah. And the other quick thing is just when you are meal prepping during that time, you should be I know we're not supposed to be multitasking, but you should be multitasking, right? So you should have the oven like on, and you should be cutting up the veggies while you're cooking the protein on the grill. At the same time, you're like cooking something in the air fryer, and just utilize all the stuff you have to narrow down the time that you're spending there, rather than being like, all right, I'm going to go do this, and then I'm going to cook the chicken and then extend it that much longer. Just figure it out what makes the most sense and how to do it. Like start preheating the oven, start cooking the meat, do it, whatever you can to start prepping the other things to go, like make it quick. It shouldn't be more than 45 minutes, an hour, tops to get that done.
Yeah, totally. It's as you say that, I'm thinking about the you know, there's some people who are like, you ask like, what are you doing today? And they're like, I'm doing laundry. And
Yeah.
and anyone who's like a woman, a mom, is like,
you're like, what?
that's not a thing. You do that every day, like while in the corners
Yeah.
of the time, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like you were saying with the meal prepping, something's baking, something
Yeah.
you're chopping something while something's baking, maybe the water's boiling. In the winter, I would do that. I do steel cut oats with oatmeal,
Mhm.
and that they take forever to cook. So like you're never going to make them on a weekday morning, but they're a great thing to have cooking while you're baking some chicken and then like cutting up vegetables or something in the meantime.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. Well, I don't want to keep anyone, you know, too long. I think this was it's just fun for me.
I know. I love talking about food, so I'm good.
Me too. I hope it was helpful. Carrie, if you have any questions or any thoughts you want to share before we log off, I'd love to hear them, or we'd be happy to answer.
Yep. Nope, I'm good. Yes.
Okay,
That's
good.
helpful. I was listening. All
Okay,
the
good.
chaos going on behind me. So yes.
Okay, good. And I know we didn't really work through anything, but maybe you could just let everyone pretend you're still in the call and just take the next, you know, 15 minutes
There
or
you
whatever to do some planning.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if you guys ever need like ideas, we can always like, you know, drop them in the Facebook group or anything like that, and we can start a big like, you know, stream of ideas for people too, and throw in like a doc or something that you can refer back to.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought that would be
great
good.
idea.
All right.
I think I will actually do that with like the categories for meals. Yeah, I'll just drop a comment in the Facebook and like a post in the Facebook group, and people can maybe add to it some things that we haven't thought of tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys have a great
Right.
night. Stay
Thanks.
cool.
Yes.
All right. You
I'm in the
too.
dungeon. It's cold down here.
All
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, Kim. Have a great
Bye.
night.
You too.